today is...
deciding whether or not it's time to compete or not.
Woo!
Check out those guns.
So, when to compete? The decision.
It's a good
Where
question.
to begin with that big beastie question. When to compete? When to compete?
Well...
Do we even know the answer ourselves?
It's going to have to be sooner or later is what I'm going to say. I mean, you certainly, you meet a lot of people in the industry and you hear them, and they're all saying, well, it's next year. They're trying to improve on one point or another point. But sooner or later, you know what? You've just got to throw yourself in at the deep end. You're just going to have to go ahead, make that decision and just do it. One thing I will say though is, you should look like a bodybuilder or a figure athlete or whatever the category it is that you're trying to do first and foremost, yeah? And if you can look at pictures of other bodybuilders in your category, etc., or figure competitors, and you look somewhat like that, then you're probably ready.
And get someone to look at your physique.
Yes.
Because our perception of ourselves is totally different to somebody who is looking at you objectively, who understands a bit about bodybuilding or perhaps the categories or the classes, a coach of sorts, somebody in your gym, etc. Get somebody who's experienced or knows the field to have a look at your shape and just analyse and critique, and don't be afraid of maybe what they have to say.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a good point. Take some pictures of yourself.
Yeah.
Have a look in the poses that you're going to have to be doing and assess from there and say, okay, well, do you have all the muscles in the right place? Mm-hmm. Are you ready for it? And then again...
Does your actual skeletal structure hold a certain shape specifically?
Yeah.
You know, like, have a good look at your shape. Like, I mean, I know that obviously posing coaching has become quite a lot more popular over the last good few years or whatever, but go and see somebody who maybe has an eye for detail with looking at aesthetic as well and looking at the anatomy and how it all fits together, because it really, really helps, especially when, of course, the goal here is to get on stage and display a physique to tick boxes in rounds like symmetry, muscularity, and obviously presentation and all the rest of it. So
do your research first. I mean, if I'm talking ideal scenario to know when it's time to compete, first thing I think I would probably do, and I didn't do this, I was just looking at magazines and video, etc., is I would go to a competition, I would get a feel for it, I'd have a look around, I'd see what the guys and girls look like, and then I'd probably size myself up compared to them and say, okay, well, have I got this? I would find someone experienced, I'd get them to take a look at me, see what they thought, got their feedback. And you know what, whatever they said to me, I'd take it on board, I wouldn't get upset, I'd appreciate that, I'd ask for that critique, and then I'd probably go from there and decide, okay, am I ready to do it? And you know what? My experience is that if you approach someone who is a bodybuilder themselves, a lot of the time they'll give you their time. And they'll probably give you their time for free initially as well. So if you just want someone to look you over for 5 minutes and you approach someone you know, a bodybuilder, they'll probably help you out, because I know, Steff, for myself, and I don't know about you, that when I first got into this, someone was quite happy to just give me a little time, help me out, and I think a lot of bodybuilders sort of think, okay, well, they're willing at least to give back a little bit, and because we all want to see the next generation come through. Yeah,
totally. So, you know, I think like when to decide when to compete is based on quite a few of those things. Yep, having a good critical assessment of your physique yourself, get an objective view. Also, you know, a realistic time scale for how long it takes to build muscle and...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to take us away on that a little bit?
Well, here's the thing. You've got to think about the sort of people that you're going to be going up against in a novice in a novice setting. I mean, you've got people who are coming from sporting backgrounds. They're coming from a sporting background. They might have done a sport to a decent level for, say, 5 years to 10 years. So they've already got muscle in place, neurological pathways put down, they've got habits, they're determined, and then they train for a couple of years after that. So in that respect, they might have 15 years under their belt in terms of training. So you've got these sort of people, you've got high-level committed bodybuilders that have been training in gyms and dungeons for years, that are surrounded by cohorts of people that are striving forward to really see that person do
coming
well.
Up from the dungeon,
like,
I mean, freaks of nature that just pop out of nowhere, and you're like,
yeah, for sure.
What the fuck?
So those are two people, and then you've got like the genetic freak that's just got total...
Nathan Williams.
Nathan's a great example, yeah. But just virtuosos, people that have just got all the muscle in place, they can just do it, right? Yeah. They're great. So that's what you're going up against.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared for that. And you have to be realistic in terms of what it is that you're going to achieve from your competition, in terms of the journey going through it, what you're going to learn, what it is you want to actually achieve at the competition itself, what's realistic in that respect as well, because as I said in a previous video, there can only be one first place person. Mm-hmm. So that means that everyone else in that class is going to be second, third, fourth, etc. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be prepared for all these things, certainly. So, worth bearing that in mind. And then you've got to come up with your timescale, right? In terms of getting ready for a competition, we know from the research that if you want to do well at a British finals, you're talking at least 10 years training under your belt as the average amount of time people have been bodybuilding for. Not necessarily competing. I mean, guys can do well 3-4 years competing to get to that level and do well. The girls, it's slightly less time, but the guys, you're talking 10 years resistance training under your belt to be at that level. Now, I'm not trying to put people off, but if you want to do all right at a local level, as I say, you need to at least look like a bodybuilder first and foremost. Yeah? That's going to take you a couple of years, especially if you're not coming from a background where you've done a lot of sport. So maybe 3-4 years in before you're actually going to do it. And do you know what a good barometer is? If people start approaching you and saying, when's the competition, when you're getting ready to compete, then you know you're starting to turn heads. You know.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually,
Likewise, I mean, you shouldn't even be thinking about competing, I don't think, unless you've got one of the best physiques in the gym.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because you're going up against some of the best physiques in your area, region, country. So you bet if you're not the best in your gym, then you can't expect to be the best in your particular area that you're competing in.
Yeah, completely.
What about yourself then, Steff? So just from a sort of female point of view, this is all sort of coming from the guy's perspective in terms of getting ready to compete.
So another factor I think that's really important to bear in mind when deciding to compete, and this is something that I wish actually at the beginning stages somebody's told or opened up a conversation with me about, is the commitment and what that is going to do to your balance of life, where you are. You know, when I first started bodybuilding, did I understand how much it was going to change my lifestyle? No, I didn't. I didn't see, I suppose, that social events went kind of out the window. People who are around you, you'll very quickly find out who your friends are, because those people around you will either support you with those goals or they won't. And actually I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of females might have had this, maybe a lot of guys as well, when you start to transform your physique and change it quite dramatically, people get really funny about that and can get quite...
oh yeah, definitely.
A lot of their insecurities can come out and try and kind of dampen you down or suppress you to, like, oh, you're losing a lot of weight, are you sure you want to do this, you're becoming a bit masculine, all these kinds of things. And I'm sure a lot of women have experienced some of this. Certainly I didn't know what I was going to experience when I went into this. So I think when we're looking at when's the right time to compete, consider that you need to have a very realistic view that this is something extreme that you're about to go into that doesn't kind of fit into the normal person's box of what is the right thing to do. So you've got to be ready for those kind of conversations coming back at you, like, oh, you're bodybuilding. Like from a female perspective, it's a very different thing to do. And a lot of girls find it really weird still. And a lot of them, of course, older generation, your parents or grandparents or other people in your families, etc. It's quite a funny thing to do. And so...
Yeah, there's a stigma for sure.
There's a stigma. And you mentioned bodybuilding to the likes of like my mum and my grandma, and the first thing that the stereotype of Arnold Schwarzenegger and steroids comes into mind, which is like, of course, we all know that there's lots of different areas in this bodybuilding and crazy world that we do our sport in, but certainly, like, you've got to be ready for the different points of view that are going to be around you when you go into doing something like this, and being okay with that, and not trying to change people's opinions either. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to absolutely hate it. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So that's a decision factor for me, is be prepared that it's going to
Yeah.
change areas of your life. You're going to miss out on quite a lot of different things because you're going to be dedicated and focused to the goal at hand. And you've got to be ready for the backlash that might come with that and be strong throughout that process as well.
Yeah, I think that the key thing you said, I mean, this is an extreme sport. You have to be aware of it.
We're crazy. We're all a bit bonkers.
We definitely are. And there's degrees of commitment required depending on the classes that you want to do. And there is a hierarchy here. So
yeah, very much
if you go up the levels and you go from regional all the way up to national, all the way through to the...
Sorry, I just have to show you what Andrew's written. Stop banging the table. We're just aware that it's like... And yeah, he's been very casually writing that whilst I'm speaking.
So, as I was saying, there are degrees in this. And if are you all right there?
Yeah, sorry, it just tickled me.
Okay.
I'm back in the room.
She's back in the room. So, in terms of there are degrees. If you're going to compete regionally, compared to if you're going to compete nationally and internationally, what is required in you in terms of your commitment for your time. Also, if you're going to compete from the softer to the harder classes, again, what is required from you again goes up. And then if you want to dabble in the dark side of the sport, then you better be prepared for what's coming your way in terms of taking risks with your health
risks,
as well. This will be one of the hardest things you'll probably ever do. And actually, should you succeed in it, it'll probably also be one of the most empowering, rewarding things you'll ever do as well. Because once you've done a bodybuilding show, you've stuck to a diet which is severe, you've not deviated, you've got the fat loss off you, you can achieve anything.
Oh yeah, and
because it'll be a cakewalk.
Totally. I think like a lot of the focus, commitment, dedication, desire to succeed, these attributes contribute over many different areas of your life, whether that's business, relationships, just any area. You need these elements to succeed and to be really successful, I think, just generally in different areas. So I know certainly that when I'm on prep, I become extraordinarily efficient, and actually the other areas of my life increase in terms of my approach. Like I become a lot more focused and on point with my tasks, structures there. Even though you might be dieting and a wee bit depleted, as you become more experienced in bodybuilding, I think it actually just really does aid other areas of your life. If you're that routine or focused kind of person, which certainly I am.
For sure. I think you just get better at managing your time when you run that. That's the key thing, and then you fit in things around that. Okay. One thing I would say is in terms of competing as well, competing should always be for you. Because it's going to be such a big commitment, you better be sure that you're competing for the right reasons. Yeah. So...
you're not doing it because somebody tells you to do it. You're doing it because you want to do it.
Yeah,
and it's a goal for you,
Because if you're doing it because someone else wants you to do it, then I can't see how you're going to get to the end of your journey on that. No. It's certainly not in a mentally a good place or a healthy, good place as well. So in terms of, to summarise this sort of stuff, I think to wrap this up, we're saying, if you want to compete, I think you should probably do your research on this. Yep. Take some photos, make sure you look like whatever category you want to do, get some advice, ask some advice, put in place some proper planning, do your research around what goes into the diet, the training, how it affects your life, talk to other bodybuilders
bodybuilders, like find a bodybuilder that you like or whatever, just ask them a few questions.
Yeah, most of them are approachable. I mean, if you send us a message, we'll probably get back to you.
We'll chat to you.
Bodybuilders like talking to other bodybuilders, and they just appreciate people that are interested in what they do. And, I mean, I wouldn't always say that, you can do this yourself, but it always helps to have some guidance along the way to help you out. So you can usually, there's plenty of people that will help you out there along that. You can get coaches and stuff like that will help you out as well.
Ask us, we're coaches.
And we'll be able to help you out. Anything else to add then, Steff?
No, I think that pretty much is it. Like you said, deciding when to compete, research, ask, analyse your physique, be realistic, and be ready for what is essentially one of the hardest in sports, one of the hardest processes that you can go through physically and mentally as well. So But
you know what? By the time you get to the end of it, it's rewarding because it's really fun. I love it being up on stage.
Yeah, I love it as well.
Brilliant. It's a great thing to do.
We love all the posing and the flexing, don't we?
Yeah, it's our favourite thing to do. We're show-offs.
We're show-offs. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of that big question, when to decide to compete, deciding on when to compete even, and I need to stop banging the table. So
Peace out.